This is WFYI News Now. It's June 4th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, a county judge orders Indiana to reopen a federal rental assistance program that was abruptly shut down. The federal government revokes a grant to help a cement plant in Lawrence County store its carbon emissions underground. And the U.S. Senate considers a bill that would cut funding for programs Hoosiers say they depend on to survive.
This is food off of the table. This is people without care. This is people not going to the doctor when they need to. People are going to die because of this, and people are going to be affected right here in Lawrence County.
Those stories are coming up, but first. Democratic Indianapolis City County Councilor Andy Nielsen has called for the resignation of Mayor Joe Hogsett after the final report of an investigative committee was released last week. The report details the response from the administration following numerous sexual harassment complaints about former Hogsett aide Thomas Cook. Nielsen sits on the committee that commissioned it. He says while the administration was found legally compliant, standards that allowed Cook to remain employed put people in harm's way and betrayed public trust. Hogsett released a statement saying there is further investigation into the time period Cook stayed employed, and he urged continual work with the council to implement report recommendations. A county judge is ordering the state to reopen a federal rental assistance program that was abruptly shut down in March. As Indiana Public Broadcasting's Brandon Smith reports, the judge says the state's decision to end the program before federal funding ran out was made without any reasonable basis.
The state received federal funding for a rental assistance program in 2021 as part of a COVID-19 relief package. The money for that program expires at the end of September this year. There is still nearly $30 million available for that program, but the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority told applicants in early April that it was ending the program immediately. 3 Hoosiers at imminent risk of eviction and homelessness sued to reopen the program, and Marion County Judge Richard Blakelock sided with them, ordering the state to process applications it had already received and accept new applications until the money runs out. In his ruling, Blakelock said the state offered no findings, no analysis, no documented assessment to justify shutting down the program months before it ran out of federal money. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Brandon Smith at the State House.
The immediate next steps for the program are uncertain, as the state can appeal the judge's ruling. The U.S. Department of Energy has revoked a grant to help a cement plant in Lawrence County store its carbon emissions underground. It's one of 24 awards the Trump administration terminated last week. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Rebecca Thiel reports most of the $3.7 billion in grants were for making industry more climate-friendly.
The DOE said the projects failed to advance the energy needs of the American people, were too expensive, and wouldn't earn a positive return on investment. Advocates for decarbonizing heavy industry disagree. They say it would make U.S. industries competitive with other countries and create jobs. David Perkins with Heidelberg Materials says the cement maker is still figuring out what this means for the carbon storage project and how it might appeal the decision.
The cement sector is a really critical part of our overall economic prosperity. So we're hopeful that we can work with the DOE to help them understand that and how this really does align with that mission of supporting domestic manufacturing.
The nonprofit Industrious Lab says in canceling the awards, the DOE might have violated its contracts with private companies, which could mean the action is illegal. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Rebecca Thiel.
The DOE also canceled an award to make several Kraft Heinz manufacturing plants more energy efficient, including one in Noble County in Indiana. So far, an award for a zero-waste aluminum recycling facility in Wabash County is still in effect. The DOE did not respond to our request for an interview. And for our final story today, the U.S. Senate returns this week to discuss the federal reconciliation bill. The legislation includes hundreds of millions of dollars in funding cuts to programs that Hoosiers say they depend on to survive. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Abigail Ruman reports some Hoosiers are calling for Senators Jim Banks and Todd Young to vote no on the legislation.
The federal bill includes significant cuts and changes to Medicaid, Medicare, and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. Jerome Alpert is with the grassroots organization Lawrence County Deserves Better. He says their organization wants lawmakers to come to Mitchell and meet the people they're supposed to represent and vote no on cuts to services that people rely on.
This is food off of the table. This is people without care. This is people not going to the doctor when they need to. People are going to die because of this, and people are going to be affected right here in Lawrence County.
Alpert says Mitchell is in a rural area that already has issues with care and food deserts. He says cuts to these programs will make basic needs even more inaccessible for people in rural Indiana. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Abigail Ruman.
That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Daudelin and Zach Bundy, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.